let's dive right into the farewell. The farewell to Kiss. At least in in their human form, which we'll get into later. They so straight after Monster came out, Kiss just kind of pretty much kept on keeping on without really much fuss. They sort of kept touring, did various different media appearances. There was a Kiss cruise. There were various, yada yada yada. Until 2014, when something quite extraordinary happened to the band. They got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's great news, right? That is some great news. Wrong. Couldn't be more wrong. Not.
It's great news.
It's wrong. This is not everyone. What? Not everyone is happy about this. At this point, Kiss had been eligible for around 15 years and had pretty much been snubbed by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame consistently throughout the years. And in this way, Paul described the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as being hypocritical.
He said, hypocrisy is that we're not a band they like. They purposely kept us out for 15 years, and other bands that they embrace, they induct people's moms, songwriters, and all these other people. And with us, it was truly unfair.
He also described...
no self-awareness.
None. Very, very, very little. He also described them as being indicted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not inducted, which is hilarious. I think we can all agree. Absolute zinger. Now,
it's very funny.
It's fucking hilarious. My personal opinion is I really don't give a flying fuck about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at all. I really don't care about it. I think it means nothing to me. However, I guess if you're gonna have one, Kiss might as well be in it. They were very influential. However, ultimately, it's probably better and healthier just to say, all right, better late than never. That's sort of what Def Leppard did. Like when they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they had been eligible for many, many years and had been snubbed, much like Kiss. Not as long as Kiss, to be fair, but still quite a long time. They claimed that they just didn't really care, and then when they got inducted, they decided, hey, this is like pretty cool. That's fine. However, this isn't the only controversy that surrounded Kiss being inducted, because it's one thing to be snubbed for many, many years, and then finally people come round to it. There were certain conditions for them being inducted, which hasn't been necessarily true for other bands. Usually, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has a policy where if you play on 2 studio albums or more, you get inducted. However, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame didn't apply this rule to Kiss. They were only interested in the 4 original members. That has got to sting for Paul. I can't even fathom the level of rage that was probably going through him. In this way, Bruce, Vinny, Eric Carr, Eric Singer, Tommy Thayer, Mark St. John were all left by the wayside. What do we make of that? What do we glean from that? Alex, what do you think?
I'm trying to think. Has this only been a thing for Kiss? So,
as far as I'm aware,
they said specifically for Kiss, because that is very strange. I mean, for some members, I understand if they were like, Mark St. John was on it for a very short time, or even Vinny. But for Is Eric Carr part of that? I know obviously he's deceased, but like
Well, I'll give
would he
you
be included?
No, he wasn't included. So by typical rules, he should have been included, but he wasn't. So I'll give you an example, right? So you know Guns N' Roses? Guns N' Roses got inducted. And Steven Adler, who only played on Appetite for Destruction, he was the drummer, only played on that record. He got inducted as a member of Guns N' Roses, which I think it says more about the cultural significance of the band, that because he was part of that era and that lineup, that he got inducted. So I think it is odd, like you're saying, but I think it speaks more to like, well, who does anyone really care about? You know, who does anyone really give a shit about?
Yeah. Well, I'm a little bit on Kiss's side then, or Paul, or whoever outraged it, because I mean, they would feel that those, especially the members who have been sort of carrying the band over the past 20 years at this point in tours and stuff, they are as much as part of the band.
They are making it very, very, very clear that, look, all anyone cares about is the 70s stuff. All people care about is the original lineup. That's it. So So let's be real. Let's keep it to that, and let's keep going. But having said that, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, when they got inducted, Josh Klinghoffer, who was their current guitarist at the time, who had only played on one album, like, he got inducted. One of their drummers, Cliff Martinez, who only played on... Oh, wait.
Legend.
No, he played on 2 albums. Sorry. One of their drummers, Jack Irons, who only played on 1 album, he still got inducted. And that's an album no one really cares about, as in the broad sense. I love that album, Uplift Mofo Party Plan. It's a great album. But in the broader sense, in terms of what people culturally care about, no one cares about that. I wonder whether Paul has said some less than desirable things about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame over the years, and about not being in.
I was just about to say
and
that.
about
That was
yeah,
gonna
and
be
about
my
not
point.
being inducted. Where they went right. All right, fine, you can be inducted. Yeah, but it's only going to be the original 4 because fuck off. You've been incredibly outspoken.
It's very, very possible. But if for me, if they're consistent with the rules, then you can complain about them, but whatever. But if there is like constantly changing, and especially like it feels like they're just targeting Kiss, then that's not nice. Though I agree, Paul probably has said things about the and Gene probably, I imagine, have said things about the committee or whoever. Not that it really matters.
It really doesn't matter. It's a bit like going to it's about this.
He's been airing his dirty laundry, and so that's why they snubbed him. Also, Alexei, I take issue. I think you've heard them say that they got snubbed so many times that you're using that word. That's a loaded word. They did not get fucking snubbed by anyone. It's the fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. No one cares. It's not just you, Alexei. No one cares except Kiss. No one fucking cares. So, like, lots of bands don't make
Iron
it.
Maiden.
I just looked up.
Iron Maiden are not
aren't
in it.
Emerson, Lake and Palmer aren't in it. Right, it's common for artists and bands who should be in that. Motorhead aren't in it. I just looked. There's so many.
Yeah.
So I think it says so much about Kiss how important this is to Paul. And I mean especially Paul. You can tell it really means a lot to him. And he's the only artist that I'm aware of who's bitched about not getting in earlier. So for him to use this word, we were snubbed by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It shows the weird world that he lives in, where this is something anyone cares about. So I think it's fine that they, whatever the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame wants to do, they can do.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. I'm sure once they got let in, that they forgave them, right? And they weren't bitter at all.
Fucking hell. Well, I mean, we'll get to that. But Danny, I can say I completely agree with you. I've never heard a single member of Iron Maiden say like, this is bullshit. We should get let into the Rock and Roll Fame, because they don't need to. They really don't need to. It's really not that important. It means absolutely nothing, like you said. I think it's a bit like just to get inducted. Most people don't do that with a lifetime, and I think that it's a bit like, going to a theme park and then getting pissed off because you didn't get an ice cream. Do you know what I mean? At the end, it's still a great thing. You should be happy that it's even happened. Most people don't get that. In any case,
They believe in winners and losers. They're those sorts
Yeah,
of people.
yeah.
And they just felt
That-
like
yeah,
they
you're-
not won until they got in,
They-
and then they were winners. But they were bitter winners because they
yeah,
should have
you're
won
right.
earlier.
You're right. I mean, also there's it's the way that it works, because my understanding of the process is that if you've to be eligible to get inducted, you have to have been a band for a certain amount of years. So let's say Kiss have been eligible for I don't know however many years, but then that year Nirvana become eligible, or Guns N' Roses become eligible. Who are you gonna give it to? You're obviously gonna give it to Nirvana, because then it's like, well, who's more deserving, really, Kiss or Nirvana?
Yeah,
It's probably gonna be Nirvana.
But it's not just one artist at each
Exactly.
year though.
Yeah, it's tons. They induct like fucking 6 or 7 or something like that. There's quite a lot.
Alice Cooper only made it 3 years before Kiss did. So they had a back catalogue of people to get through. I think.
Because it creates a huge backlog. Because the more people that become eligible, like Deep Purple, they didn't get it till like 2016 or something like that. It's the only band that really cares about this. It really is Kiss.
Because everyone else takes it for what it is, which is just like a nice little award. It's a nice thing, and you take it with some humility, and you say thank you. I'm glad that people appreciate what I've done. But Kiss, it becomes... Paul even uses the word vindication in his speech. He
yeah.
says,
"Oh man,
this is vindication."
we'll get on
I
to
think
that
he's
speech.
the only artist alive where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is legitimate vindication.
We got
Okay,
to
yeah,
the
we got to the
speeches,
speeches.
the speech is
Oh, man.
ridiculous. But like what it is, I mean, you made a good thing where you said it's a nice little thing. What it is, Danny, is pageantry. That's all it is pageantry, and that's like, it's so superficial.
Yeah.
And
Just that.
at its
At
best,
its
it is
best.
pageantry. It really does mean nothing. It's a little bit of fun, and that's all. Anyway, because of all this drama, Kiss decided they were not going to perform at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame were only interested in the 4 original members playing. And according to Paul, he said, "We had too much pride in this current lineup."
Which is Kiss, and has been Kiss for 20 years. It's not newcomers, this is the band.
I noticed though that he's not talking about like what about Eric, what about Bruce, what about Vinny, what about all these other great people who've had a long and storied career. It's only about the current incarnation. And I think he still can't get over the fact that no one is really that gassed about the current incarnation. Like, it's fine. People will tolerate it. People think it's good. I think he's still sort of hang up on that. Anyway, because of all this, despite all this controversy, Kiss still decided to show up. To be honest, I think if they really cared that much, they wouldn't have shown up, really. If they were like, we think this is a despicable organization and we feel insulted by them, they could have not shown up. Countless musicians haven't shown up. Axl Rose did not show up. John Frusciante didn't show up. The members of Rage Against the Machine, minus Tom Morello, didn't show up. Which is hilarious, because we'll get to that later. It is very funny. They could have just sacked it off, and Peter and Ace could have gone by themselves, which would have been hilarious, and I think very, very sweet and quite funny. But Paul and Gene,
Yeah, if they have such a problem with like the organization and how it's run and how things are decided, you don't show up, because the way it keeps on running and the way they make their money is to get the big stars on, to get sort of the donations and to get those. I'm not sure if it goes onto TV, but they definitely sell like the clips and sell the performances and sell tickets to the live show. So if that's the way you go against them, is to not show up, because that's what the committee is looking for, is to get the big name showing up.
yeah, I mean, it's like you're not good. You've got nothing to lose. Like, you get, no pun intended. You are like, you're Kiss. You don't need to go. You don't need to go. If you don't go, you're not going to alienate your fans. Nothing you could do at this point. You've tried at every possible given opportunity to alienate your fans, and it still hasn't happened. It's pretty bulletproof at this point. You don't have to go. No one is forcing you. I think, obviously, Paul and Gene said it was for the fans. Obviously, it's for the fans. Like, we don't want to upset the fans. I think it was probably, and we'll get to the induction, it was probably more awkward for fans than it was, a celebration. I think secretly, because they're a pair of egomaniacs, they couldn't say no to go in. They had to go. They couldn't say no to being inducted. They couldn't have asked their names to be, because then they wouldn't have ultimately have been inducted. And I think that ultimately is more important for them. What do you think? What do you guys think? Danny, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. That, like I said, for Paul, this really is vindication. And I really single out Paul more than Gene. Again, when we get to the speeches, Gene comes off better than Paul in the speeches.
He does.
Paul really he really does come across bitter at something, like I said, that should just be a nice little celebration at best. He turns into this weird, it's a lot of negative energy from him throughout the whole ceremony.
Very negative.
Which is, yeah. Like I said, yeah, but like you said, for him, this is actually an important thing. So it's a clash for him. He wants to be so, cool and we're above this and it doesn't mean anything. And anyway, we were snubbed for years, and then we were indicted. But the guy obviously really cares about it, which is, well, each to their own. Alex, what do you think?
Not much else to say. Like, if they always go on about that everything they do is for the fans. The whole reason that they keep on going is because they love putting on a show for their fans
It's
and everything.
a massive
And
cop out.
This is if you believe that, then this doesn't matter whatsoever to you. Like, it really, really doesn't. So for Paul to act this way, and for them to do what they do, it's very in keeping with how Paul has operated Kiss throughout all of this. So in a way, maybe it's a fitting induction into the Hall of Fame. That this is the way they're going, as it encapsulates a lot of what Kiss is.
Yeah.
It does. No other band would have gone in this way. It's really quite amazing. Like, anyway, all of this led to quite a frosty induction. Inducting them was none other than Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine, who gave, I think, quite a lame induction. To be honest with you, I think, I can't really, go into details about why I thought it was lame. I think it was a lot of like bluster for something which was just so awkward and weird, and have you guys watched it? What do you? Yeah, they do. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of his actual induction, his induction speech?
Yeah, continuing off from what we were saying about Paul and Kiss, Tom Morello kind of continues that energy, or kind of like sets up that energy, because his induction speech is very defensive. It's very like, no, let me explain again why they should be in the Hall of Fame.
yeah. To be honest with you,
sets up that tone.
Sorry, when you say it like that, it's almost like I don't think Paul would have liked it.
What do you mean?
I don't think I don't think he'd be like, people said Kiss were lame. People said, like, he goes into all these reasons why people don't like Kiss. I think Paul would have just been like, show up, just tell him we're great. You don't need to say that. You don't need to say how lame we are. And how
Come
shit you
across
are.
very confident in the band.
It doesn't.
Right, you're really trying to prove it. Like, no, they are good. I swear they're a good band.
I swear to you, this band are really good. It's almost like, you know, when like you're sort of having a debate with your friends. Let's say like I was trying to defend, like, you know, I don't know, fucking their second Skid. Like if I was trying to defend Skid Row to someone because I think their second album's really good, I'd be like, nah, man, I swear to you, the riffs are really good. Yeah, I know they're lame. I know this video that they watched was lame, but I swear to you, the riffs, they go so hard on this album. Like, it's not that confident. You're right. It's like he's almost saying like, look, I get it. I understand like what you're all thinking, but seriously, they are pretty good.
Yeah, and so. And to some points of his are correct in terms of just like the album sold and like their longevity. It's a very fair point. But a lot of the other things I wish I wrote down that line he said, Alexei, where he's like, you know, he says something about, oh, in school if you listen to Kiss, then like you're one of the cool kids, not one of like the nerds or something. I wish I wrote it down. It's a really awkward line. Other thing, is it Tom who says that Beth is the world's first power ballad?
Yeah.
Did you guys catch on to that?
Yeah, that's absolute bollocks. It's complete bollocks.
What is that a power ballad? Is that
obviously?
And if
not.
it is it the first? I don't think so. Again, very stretching and defensive, and just so much critic bashing, just straight from the get go, and which continues on. Danny.
He uses the phrase, I think this is what you were talking about, Alex. So he says, relentlessly persecuted is what I wrote down. He said Kiss fans have been relentlessly persecuted.
That's it, yeah.
I can think of groups throughout history who have been relentlessly persecuted, where I think that's an appropriate phrase to use. Not fucking Kiss fans, for fuck's sake.
They can persecute, like, yeah,
you know, you had musicians with openly gay artists, you know, musicians speaking out against, you know, maybe the government, the military forces, you know, but no, Kiss. They would have won.
It's like this band was solely responsible for kids being bullied up and down this country, and that is a great thing. I was like, that's not a great selling point. If it weren't for Kiss, I would have lost my virginity 3 years earlier than when I did.
It was very interesting to see how much Tom Morello adores Kiss, though. I never would have guessed it, honestly. I never made a connection in terms of style.
He just comes across like a fucking
persona,
dweeb, man. He comes across like a fucking dweeb. He really does. I always thought he was like a lame guy anyway. Like, oh my god, like, guitar playing, untouchable. Like, he's a fucking wicked guitar player. And he wrote some of the best riffs of the 90s, maybe even all time, right? Indisputable. But man, he's just a really lame guy. You can tell he's a Kiss fan. You can, like, that.
I love all
that
his
figured.
music.
Because when
I've never liked an interview with him. I've never thought
he's
like,
an annoying
he's come
guy.
across really well in this interview.
The persecution of Kiss fans continues on this podcast, guys.
It does.
Well, maybe that's where he was coming with Rage, because you know Rage is all about standing up for the oppressed. Where maybe Zach Della
that's who he's talking about.
That's what Know Your Enemy's about. That's what Testifies about. That, like, I mean,
fuck you! I won't do what you tell me. It started to play Love Gun.
Like, it was a weird one, because I remember when I saw it was him that was inducting him, I was like, what? Because I didn't think it was a weird choice. I thought it was an interesting choice. I didn't call it. It wouldn't have been who I would have assumed would have done it. And then as soon as he started talking, I was like, oh yeah, actually, you know what, this fits.
I think they like that.
I get it now. Yeah, I get it now. Because instantly I went to the political. I went to like, wait, but Kiss, like the gene particularly stands for everything
Yeah.
Rage doesn't, right? Surely. I mean, just in terms of the marketing, the mass capitalism, and you know, but then I guess in spirit, I was like, actually, this sort of makes sense to me. Are you guys all right to move on to some of the speeches? I think we can blast through quite a few of them. I was going to start with Ace. I think Ace
I don't have much to say.
Yeah, Ace is good. Ace, I think, is quite funny, quite likable as always. I found him quite funny when he was like, I wore these glasses, but I can't read my speech because they're not prescription. I thought that was quite, you know, a sort of an Ace, a likable Ace gaff. As always, I felt Peter was quite sweet. I think him saying that he'll always be Catman, I did feel quite a bit for him in that moment. Again, it does add to the awkwardness, but there's something about him, you know. I felt for him a little bit there. Gene, like Danny said, is fine. I think he's absolutely fine. I think he does. I think he comes at it from a more professional angle. He gives Ace and Peter their due. More professional. He's like, look, we're here to just accept this award. I'm going to accept this award. And then we get to Paul. And the whole thing just turns into this bitter sentiment about how the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't listen to people. And I'm like, this is a problem that affects 1% of any person in this world. This problem you are talking about. And it's like when actors use getting an award as a platform to talk about political issues. But instead of an issue, instead of like a political issue that can affect hundreds and hundreds of people and draw awareness to it, this is an issue that only affects Paul and only affects aging rock stars, most of which don't really care about it. Iron Maiden don't care. Motorhead don't care. Deep Purple didn't care for years. And it's like I said, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is just pageantry. It means absolutely nothing. There's a bit where Paul says,
it's decided by a bunch of people behind desks like these committees. It should be the people that
decide. I'm like, exactly. That's why you shouldn't care. This is why I don't care about it. Because one, it doesn't matter that there's a Hall of Fame for musicians. It really doesn't matter. And it is decided by people over a desk, hence why it matters even less, you know. And even if it was decided by, you know, the people, why would you care? Why, you know, again, why do you give a shit? You have millions and millions and millions of dollars. You have everything. You don't need to care about what the critics think. You don't need to care. You've got hundreds of fans. You've influenced thousands of musicians. It really doesn't matter. Alex, what do you think of Paul's speech? I felt it was bitter, unnecessary, and it really, whatever mood was left in the room really got sapped out of the room. Alex, what do you think?
It was all that, and kind of a shame. I know a lot of people don't care about award speech that much. I tend to get like sort of like an interest. I tend to get interested in a little bit, like what people would say and sort of see their mindset. And for me, at that moment, you should use it to either like thank certain people who maybe don't get thanked very much, or to put something out there, put out some love about either the members that are there on the stage or the ones that aren't with them. I say Gene did a decent job with it, which surprised me. Or, you know, if he cares so much about people and rock and roll and stuff, shout out, I don't know, like the fans or like people that helped him like early on in their career or something. Like use that moment, even if it did come about in a not so great way, use that moment in a positive sense instead of dragging it down into just like I was joking about earlier, like all that stuff can happen behind the scenes at one point. But then once it's happened, you can just let it go because like we've all said, who gives a shit? You're
no
there.
one cares. No one
Your
cares.
name is on that plaque or whatever it is. I don't even know how it works. Yeah, just enjoy that moment. Use it for something positive.
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, what do you think about the fact that he's, like I was saying, like he's trying to almost create it into, he's almost trying to say that it's a broader issue when really it only really affects him.
Right.
When it only affects him, really.
I'm sure if I looked into the logistics and the process of how it's worked, I probably would disagree with how they decide who gets nominated
me
and how
too.
the voting was. I'm totally sure.
Me
sure
too.
about
I
it.
probably would,
But-
but I don't. It doesn't affect me. Who does it? It doesn't affect me. Like,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not going to help me with my bills.
That's it. It should just be something passing that Paul said it in an interview where he's like, "Oh, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's not something I personally care about because of this," and then move on. But it's the way he goes about it that makes it seem such a personal attack and such.
Write
a,
to your members of Congress. Write to your governors. Do it.
Also, imagine.
We won't stand for this any longer.
All right, Paul. We're gonna legitimately democratize the fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're gonna open it up to the public. Who's gonna police this, Paul?
Oh,
Okay.
It's
who's
gonna be a
police
mandatory vote. A mandatory vote. And if you don't vote, we'll fucking kill you.
it? Yeah, that's how it would go down.
I mean, it's fine. Sorry, Daddy. Will you carry a crack on? Is that all you want to say?
What did you guys have said it basically. I think I noticed that there was a split that's different to usual. Paul and Peter had a higher sense of vindication than the other two, or at least that's how it came across. I'm sure Gene has a lot of vindication, but as we've weirdly been saying, I can't believe I'm saying it, he's going about it with more class than Paul is, Gene. Ace is the most likable out of all of them because he's just being Ace, isn't he? Peter's perfectly likable. Paul is really not likable. Tom Morello is standing awkwardly at the side throughout the whole thing, and that was making me laugh.
Wait, doesn't
Paul
doesn't Gene
upset
grab him at some point?
make-
Doesn't Gene grab him and like link arms with him at some
Gene
point?
grabs?
I swear
Does he?
he does. I
So he
swear.
said grab him,
Yeah, maybe
like he
skim
lifts
it.
him up above his head.
Snapped him in half.
Just Paul getting upset and making a statement about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is so him. And I saw Michael Stipe in the crowd, among others, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
All right. So, after that debacle, Kiss would hoof off on a farewell tour that seemed to go on for fucking ages. However, to be fair, COVID did get in the way, so it did sort of, stretch things out a little bit. The reason for this farewell tour was apparently a desire to leave the stage with dignity and respect for the fans. I think also it has been unspoken, but that one of the contributing reasons was they're not sure how long Paul's voice could really hack it for much longer. During the last few years, it was not sounding great. There's sort of this unspoken reason that maybe that was why. The farewell was not without its controversy, though. Kiss were frequently accused of using backing tracks. There is some evidence online of this, but look, to be honest with you, I'm not really that bothered by that. They're a bunch of 70-plus-year-old men. You don't go to the show necessarily for musicianship. Anything they can do to give them a bit of a leg up, just let them have it. They are very old and are leaving anyway. They're giving up anyway. Just leave them to it. Lots of bands use backing tracks. these days to enhance certain parts. Me personally, for a band of that, I don't really see it as that huge deal. There are some clips, however, of Eric miming the piano along to Beth, which is absolutely ridiculous. But I think if you didn't accept, if you didn't accept that as obviously being bollocks as soon as you saw the piano being brought on stage, then you're just a fucking idiot, really. It's obviously bollocks. During the tour, Kiss would stop off at the Howard Stern show, where they were once again quizzed on their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. Paul said, and to be honest with you, I do give him some respect for this. He said,
Look, it was a long time ago. That's terrific that we're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Who could say they've done that with a lifetime?
Much better.
He didn't say that. He never said that. He said, he actually said,
and for us to go on stage, they were demanding, quite honestly, that we play with the two original guys, Peter and Ace. That would be demeaning to the band and also would give some people confusion. If you saw people on stage that looked like Kiss, but sounded like that, maybe we should be called Piss.
That's what he really said. Quite a few years after the
say
fact. As well. He did. That's exactly what he said.
He said they might as well be called Piss.
If they played with Peter and Ace, they should be called Piss. Is what they said. This angered Ace. It made him furious. He was not happy. He went on the Eddie Trunk show and he said, "What's going on around here?" That's what he said. He was listening to the radio. He was listening to the radio at the breakfast table, having a glass of milk. I went, "What? Piss?"
Spilt his milk all over the floor.
He spat his milk all over his wife's face.
Well, I'll piss on you.
That's
what I'll do.
He was so angry, he went on the Eddie Trunk show and said, "Paul, if you're listening to me, I'm not sure if you're listening, Paul, but I'm sure one of your associates in the KISS group are, and I'm telling you that I want my formal apology for what you said and a retraction. And I want an apology within 7 days. And if I don't get that within 7 days, I'm coming on Eddie Trunk show. I'm gonna tell some dirt that nobody knows about Paul and Gene. And I've always kept to myself. Because I'm the kind of guy that doesn't talk about this. I like to talk about
Where's the lisp come from?
Did you get that? Did you grasp what I was trying to convey there?
Yeah. He was angry. He challenged him.
He was angry. He challenged him. He wanted a apology within 7 days, and if he didn't get it, he was gonna spill some dirt, spill the dirty. Believe it or not, during that week, Paul did get in touch with Ace.
He said, "Fuck you! I'm not going to apologize!"
That's what he said.
That is what he said. That is what he said. He might not have said it like that, but that's what Ace said. That's what Ace said he did.
Sorry. All I heard was mostly I heard "fuck you" and noise because it cut out on the call. What were the words he said?
No, that's it. That's it. He said, "Fuck you, I'm not going to apologize." and then hung up.
Oh. But Alexei,
that's true?
Yeah,
How do you
He
think
actually
he
did
said
that.
that, Alexei? What voice did he say it in? I just want to hear.
I don't know. He might
how you
have
think
said
might
it. He might have said it. He might have said it a bit like this. Fuck you! I'm not going to apologize. through floods of tears. You know, it'd be really funny. You know, it'd be really funny if Ace hadn't realised Paul had hung up, and he was like, after that, just went, "What? Now listen, Paul. I hope you're
talking
listening,
for hours.
because I'm gonna come on the Eddie Trunk show, and I want a retraction and an apology within 7 days." And the phone's just. Hello? Paul, are you there? Hello? Paul, if you're still listening, or if one of your associates in the KISS group are, I want an apology. And if I don't get it within 7 days. Anyway.
Did he release the information?
No.
The
So
dirt?
what happened was Ace did not end up releasing the dirt. He did not end up releasing the dirt because he'd been talked out of it. I mean, I reckon they probably did a lot of shady stuff in the 70s. I think they could probably throw fingers at one another. I mean, I don't want to speculate. Despite this ongoing feud, there were still rumors that at the last Kiss show at Madison Square Garden, there may be an appearance from Peter and Ace. However, this was not to be. The story goes that Paul and Gene had made an offer, but it was only for Peter and Ace to perform an encore, which probably would have been 2 songs, something like that. And as far as I know, Ace was not interested in doing just an encore, because as he kept saying, I'm touring, I'm active. So he saw it as a bit of an insult. Peter, on the other hand, as far as I'm aware, wouldn't do it without Ace. So that was a non-starter. But you know who else was not invited to the last gig? Bruce. Bruce was not invited.
Aw.
That's sad, isn't it? Bruce said that he was... Yeah, the fuck. Bruce said...
What about Vinny?
Vinny was watching from the rafters, probably. Like the Phantom of the Opera.
Sorry.
Bruce said that he was disappointed that he wasn't involved, but he also said that he didn't expect to be involved. He said that he never got the vibe that they were going to invite him. However, Bruce did say that he thought Kiss had missed an opportunity not to celebrate all the years, the Kiss-tory, as he put it. He said that they should have mentioned all the other players, all the other members, but ultimately it was their show and it was their choice. However, the feedback that Bruce got from a lot of the fans were they were a little confused by it, and they didn't understand why it wasn't a farewell to all the Kiss. It was more of a farewell to the current incarnation. I think Bruce wouldn't say boo to a ghost, so I do think it's a little bit unfair that he, of all people, got shafted. There doesn't seem to be much drama with him. What do you guys think? What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, it's very sad, and just Paul, he doesn't consider them from when they started in the 80s till now as like one ongoing thing, and sort of different parts to the story that sort of create the history, as he said. He seems to just care about who's in good favor of him right there and then. I've always got that feeling that as long as people are kind of in that moment, they're working together well and things are going okay, then that's who he cares about. He doesn't really look back on the past very much. And I understand why. I'm sure he has a lot of affection for that group, because they would have been touring with each other for about 20 plus years at that point.
Huge amount of time.
So yeah, and I'm sure he really does want to make sure that they get their flowers. However, so many members have played not just sort of helped them along, have played a massive part in their sound. Like the stuff that
definitely.
Vinny brought to the show back in the day really changed what Kiss were. And same with Bruce.
And Eric.
And Eric Carr as well.
It is. I think it's sad. I think as well, what I think might have informed the decision was, well, if we had Peter and Ace, then maybe we also get Bruce. So it's a wide spectrum. We get everybody. If it's just Bruce, they might think, that ain't gonna sell it. People aren't gonna be that bothered by that. Maybe. It has to be sort of all the members, or a few of them, or none of them. Danny, what do you think? By the way, it is worth mentioning that. I think Bruce was the longest-serving member of Kiss outside of Paul and Gene. I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that. So longer than Ace and longer than Peter. That might be incorrect, though. Please don't quote me on that. Danny, what do you think about Bruce being snubbed?
Why was Bruce out of the band? I forgot what you told us, Alexei. Why is Bruce not in the band?
The reunion.
What happened?
The reunion. He constantly keeps getting fucked by them. Honestly, he gets fucked by them.
Yes.
And he's done nothing wrong. It's weird. He does nothing wrong. He does nothing but please them, yet they still shaft him at every given opportunity.
I remember it when it was going on, and I really did think that surely for the last show we'd see Peter and Ace. And probably someone like Bruce. I don't know about Vinny. Vinny really seems to have no chance left.
No.
But also, Alexei, I heard varying accounts when it was happening. I think Ace kept changing his story, right? He'd say like, "Oh, they haven't called me. But then he'd say stuff like, "Oh, I'm touring," and then it sounded like it came down to money, basically, where Ace gave them a huge number that they weren't willing to pay, and also Ace was saying things like, he's not going to stand on stage with someone else in the spaceman makeup. Or something like that, right? So there's lots of reasons,
it's something like that. There's lots of conflicting reasons.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It would have been nice to see Bruce there, but more than anything we've covered so far, really, their final gig, this isn't for us three. This isn't... Right, we're enjoying... listening to and analysing their studio output and their weird story over the years. I think that final performance was really for their diehard and probably mostly local fans. And so you'd have to ask them what they think, I think, right? That's who they're talking about when they're always talking about we're doing this for the fans. I do wonder, probably a lot of them would have liked to have seen, let's be honest, the original lineup, not so much Bruce. Again, Bruce's whole story here is just unfair. I think it would have been cool if Bruce came on for a solo, yeah. But I think it would have been cool if the other two came on as well. And Vinny. I think the whole thing should have been Vinny.
It's a Vinny Vincent. Right, guys. Despite all of this, drama, Bruce not being there, Peter not being there, Ace not being there, there were still rumblings that there was going to be an unusual something happening at the end of the show. Maybe there would be a reunion. Who knows? Maybe Vinny would show up. Who knows? Wrong. Instead, the lights of Madison Square Garden went down. The beginning of God Gave Rock and Roll to You came blasting out of the PA. And on the screens plays a short film, a promo, if you like, for the next stage of Kiss's career. What is that stage? Kiss would be reborn as avatars. In this way, Kiss can live on forever. Meaning that maybe the farewell tour was not, in fact, a farewell tour to Kiss, but more a farewell tour to Kiss in their human form. Now, the ins and outs of this deal was a company named Pop House essentially brought bought the brand Kiss wholesale from the band. Now, Pop House has already been incredibly successful with the ABBA Voyage tour, which, in the same way, turned ABBA into avatars and kind of created this virtual interactive concert experience, which has been incredibly successful. Very, very successful. What do we think of Kiss's final bamboozling decision? Danny, what do you think?
I care more about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame than this shit, man. We were just talking about how little we care about that.
I'm kind of glad that you said that.
so-
I'm kind of glad that you said that because you know what I think? I genuinely have no opinion. I have no opinion on this whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't care.
I think.
Well, I mean, it seems it seems pretty desperate. I'll say that. It seems like they would love for this to be like, you know, some high tech thing, or like something that's actually worth making a buzz about. But it's not. It's nothing. Go on, Ali. Seems like you have more to say, so you go ahead.
Well, I don't have much to say about the actual thing because, like, the promo video isn't shows what the concert would be like. It's just sort of this concept
Looks
sort
shit.
of CGI.
It looks like Rock Band.
That is not what the
It looks
concert's
like
gonna
Guitar
be.
Hero. It looks
Yeah.
like Rock Band. It does not look
Yeah.
good.
But what they're showing there is not what it's going to look like on stage. Like I looked at like clips of what the ABBA show looks like, and what. Anyway, okay, yeah, I agree. It's kind of silly, and who knows, yeah, like if it's going to be successful or whatever. But do you think Kiss is the right band to do this with? Because I was thinking, well, it seems a bit weird. Like, is there not that much of a craving? I was like, oh, we need Kiss to continue on for the ages so that my grandson can go watch Kiss, sort of thing. But I'm trying to think, what band would be suitable for this, if any? Do you think there is like a lane for this,
Oh,
Alexei?
ABBA clearly. The ABBA tour has been incredibly successful. I mean, it's not. I mean, I guess Kiss sort of suit it in the sense where they're really, really theatrical, and if you were going to make some sort of virtual concert where they're doing these amazing things or whatever, maybe. I mean, the cheap answer to your question, Alex, is Gorillaz. Probably would be the obvious one, but that doesn't really count, I guess. I don't know. It's really hard for me to sort of comment on it. I've not seen the ABBA Voyage, so I can't tell you if it's good or not. I've never seen anything sort of like this, so I can't tell you if I think that what sort of pleasure people can sort of derive from it. I think if they were like graphics on like a Kiss roller coaster or some sort of Kiss 4D film where the seats move and stuff like that, and like the smells and stuff like that. Again, maybe that I can sort of see there being some sort of purpose in that. I think it just sort of looks like Guitar Hero. It looks like Banker, but I think I've come so far on this journey with Kiss that I just reacted to it like, this sounds like something you would do. Best of luck to you, and that's kind of it.
I actually am not sure it's gonna get finished, because I had a look at the ABBA stuff, and apparently to make that show it cost an unbelievable amount of money. And I saw that Pop House bought Kiss, bought the brand.
They did, yeah,
for
they
like
did,
$300 million.
Yeah,
right. And that's just for the image rights now, and they still have to do so much. And I'm not sure it'll get done.
You know what? Actually, Alex, sorry. You know when you say that $800 million, I don't know. I think they're really overestimating Kiss's reach. I really do.
I think it's
ABBA is
for $300 million. Wait, is it?
ABBA is one thing because ABBA
300
because ABBA's songs are just like so timeless and indestructible, and are so seeped into pop culture and the zeitgeist. I don't think Kiss even come close to that level of
Well, yeah, like I think with ABBA it works because I think the way they make money in the long end is that you put this on in Vegas and then you play that show every night for however long, and you make because it's just the same thing again and again. You make the money that way. And for ABBA, it makes sense because their demographic is so wide.
Yeah,
like
Michael Jackson.
Anybody can go and see an ABBA show and have a good time.
Michael Jackson,
yeah, Michael
one.
Jackson,
or Prince.
good
You know,
example.
like someone like that. Yeah, that'd be the obvious one.
Yeah, but Kiss, I don't think they have that. Yeah, like you say, capture of the pop culture, the zeitgeist, the public attention that people will just go to Vegas for a weekend and be like, oh, like this is a great way to spend an evening. I think they would struggle.
I think.
Yeah, I do.
I think we need to be clear.
Okay.
Like, I don't think any of us want to sound like Luddites and or like boomers. Like, and actually, the industry changes in ways that will not be comfortable, and we're only getting older.
No,
and
I'm
so
not
that's gonna
against
happen more
it.
and more, right?
Yeah,
I'm
not against it.
I'm sort of. Well, I sort of.
I'm not saying I'm not against it. I don't really understand what it is or what it's like or what I haven't seen it. I don't know enough about it. Maybe that is a sort of an old boomer sort of thing.
From what I've seen of the ABBA show, it is literally you're standing there going to a concert and it's hundreds of screens, not just on the stage, but like also like above the stage and like to the side and stuff. And it's played out as a concert, as if like, they walk onto the stage and they're doing a thing and there's banter. But then at moments it sort of becomes bigger where like, so I imagine at some point Gene, or like Peter's drum kit will go out into the sky and then he will like do his magic or whatever. Like it would just be like a Kiss concert turned up to 15. Go on, Danny.
Yeah. So what I mean is, so I'm just prefacing what I'm about to say with that I just don't think this is it. I think the industry will probably go in some weird, virtual direction that we couldn't even comprehend yet. I don't think this is it. This is trying to make the audience feel like this is the next thing. Same with the ABBA stuff, if I'm honest. I'm sure it can be very enjoyable, and I think Kiss will make some money off this, but the people who go to see it and love it will be the same people who turn around, never see a young live band, and talk about how rock and roll's dying. And I think that there's hypocrisy there.
Yeah, it's like the wrong audience. No, I didn't think about it like that. It's totally the wrong audience, is it? Like, because with the ABBA stuff, yeah, like some of the ABBA diehards are like are an older audience, but they don't care that much about music in that way. Do you know what I mean? They're not kind of like boomers in cowboy hats going like, oh, you can't beat the sound of a Marshall Lambert, Gibson Les Paul coming out of a Marshall Lambert live, no backing
But
tracks.
they'll say
no
that and they'll
Swedish
go see
songwriters,
this
Yeah,
holographic
it's
Kiss
true.
show. And they won't support any local bands. I fucking promise you. And again, look, and I'm not a purist of again the old guard. I think we are trying to be open about whatever direction the industry's going in, and it might look strange and uncomfortable to us. I just think this isn't it, and the primary
not.
audience, like you say, Alexei, are going to be people who complain about the very thing that they're going to be buying into.
Yeah, you know what?
So,
I could
that's what
sort
I
of
think.
see it maybe working, but if it was completely rebranded and aimed at kids, I could see my son quite enjoying it. I could see I could see my 7-year-old appreciating it or enjoying it. But that is a long shot to be like, okay, we're a fucking dinosaur rock band. And we're going to completely sort of rebrand it in this virtual way geared towards kids. Would be because it would be a long shot, but that's the only way I could really see it working. But like I said, it sounds like something that they would do. Best of luck to you. And with that, Kiss is no more. It is no more, which means we have 4 Kiss casualties. One last time. Every member, one after the other. And we're going to start with... let's be honest. I've done this in order of importance. So we're going to start with Tommy Thayer. Not slight on Tommy, but we got to be real about this. It wouldn't make... it wouldn't make sense. And as a special treat, we've actually got Tommy here on the show. We don't really. Sorry about that. We don't have him. But we are going to say some words about him. I think that Tommy is a perfectly fine guitarist. I think that look, you can't get around it. The thing that he is undeniably best known for is being Ace's replacement. Whilst I think that the other members have definitely carved out an identity more than he has, but that's obviously been done by design and it can't really be ignored. But as I've said in previous episodes, it's not a huge deal. It's a bit odd, and the decision to essentially just make him be Ace is one that I wouldn't have necessarily made, but no one died. Life moves on. And also, to be honest, like I said in the Sonic Boom episode, if someone had offered me the chance to join a big band like Kiss and just learn the parts and dress like a member of them, I'd probably just think, well, I could do this for a couple of years, go on tour, have some fun, make a lot of money, and get a good pension, and then retire off somewhere. There's worse things you can do with a lifetime. I know that, there's the insult to the fans argument, but ultimately they will still come to gigs if they want. It is their choice. And the reason why he goes first in this list is because, he's probably the most unremarkable member of the band they've ever had. In terms of highs, I really have nothing. In terms of lows, again, it's a stretch. I think that in terms of his co-writes are not great. Betrayed is rubbish, and all the stuff off Monster that isn't great. I didn't like When Lightning Strikes, and I hated his vocals on it. But his solos are perfectly serviceable, and that's it. So in conclusion, I think his role in the band is weird, and I don't really get the logic, but I understand his decision to do it. I throw little shade on him for doing that. I would probably have done the same. However, musically, he never got going, really. He never got a chance to separate himself. He started as... Well, this is more of a positive. He started as Ace in a Kiss cover band called Cold Gin. And that does show. However, he also, and think about it like this, he also started as the Ace in a Kiss cover band and then became Ace in the real Kiss. And how many people in cover bands wish that could happen to them? And that is pretty remarkable, in a sense. So, a fine guitarist, but completely unremarkable. Danny, what do you think? What do you think of Tommy Thayer?
Well, as we've discussed,
he did record you that birthday
positively
message.
Biased towards him. Yes, I have a cameo video message from him given to me by my sister, and I love it very much. And that has hands up, that affects my view of him because it's a very sweet video.
Doesn't that mean you love?
I'm sure he was paid for it.
Doesn't that mean that you? Doesn't that say more about how much you love your sister than it does about Tommy Thayer?
I would say my love for my sister and Tommy Thayer, it's really neck and neck on that front. No, I see your point. But also, I'll tell you why. There's actually two reasons I'm positively biased towards him. The other one is how salty the fans are about his role in the band, and I agree against that. Yeah, I just think they need to chill out. And right, Ace isn't in the band, and I think if it's not him, you get someone like Vinny, which is, well, maybe that's what they want. Maybe they prefer someone like that. But I think Tommy has done a very good job in his role. I don't know him that well as a musician. I think that's a nicer way of putting what you were saying, Alexei. I haven't, even though we've heard a few albums with him now, not as many given his...
I've never listened to Black and Blue.
With the band. I've never heard Black and Blue. I think he has done a good job in the band. I think his solos are good. Same as what I've said for the other guitarist. He's not as flashy as the other guitarist because, as you said, Alexei, he's trying to emulate Ace more. But that really boxes him in. It means he can't wow me as quickly as someone like Bruce or Mark or Vinny can, because they could just whip out a really fast, crazy solo. And I love that type of stuff. So it's easier for me to shower those guys with praise. I think that the stuff you say is very true, Alexei, about the guy was just he was doing a job and he did a good job of it. He took an opportunity.
He did.
It's almost
he
unfair
did.
of us
He hit the brief.
to rank him. Yeah. I will also say something you didn't mention, Alexei. There aren't many of them out there, but I've seen a couple of interviews with him. I saw him on a Rig Rundown, and he just seems like a nice person, and he seems very down to earth in a way that's not very Kiss-like, based on the other members. Similar to Ace, I suppose, in that way, but actually in a very different way to Ace. He's not at all like Ace.
Different way.
So I think Tommy gets a big thumbs up from me. I think he's a good guitarist. And what else can I say? Alex, what do you think about Tommy?
Sorry, can I just say something on that as well? You make a good point when he was given a job and he was given a brief and he did it and he did it perfectly fine. Whereas if you look at lists of kind of like their best guitarist, their worst guitarist, he's usually at the bottom because based on that fact. And I just think that's really cheap. I do think it is really cheap because in a sense they're right. But also that's not why he's there. That's not kind of why. Like it's a really easy thing to say. He almost shouldn't really be categorized as in the same way that the rest of them are.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
it's a different thing, and it's just people getting their fucking tits in a twist constantly about the fact that he even exists. I'm like, oh, it's fucking fine, isn't it? Like you'll still go and you'll still watch them. Like it's absolutely fine. Alex, what do you think of Tommy Thayer, the former guitarist of
like
Black and Blue?
A lovely man. Oh, Black and Blue, yes. It seems like a lovely man, as we said, and a pro. And I think there's a reason why he stuck around for so long. And he, as Alexei pointed out very rightly, he's living his dream in some sense. But when we compare him to the other guitarists in the band, I mean, he is at the bottom, not for being awful, but he never had the time to shine. He's not as charismatic as Ace. He's not as distinctive as a guitar player as Vinny. And simply enough, like I don't think he compares technically.
You are right. The thing is though, Alex, you are completely right. But it's the level, like people are just like want to fucking wish he would fucking die. Do you know what I mean? When I'm like, it's just a guy. It's just a guy that had a dream and was really, really driven, and he got to a pretty good place in his life, and that is great. All he did was follow his fucking dreams. What have you done with your life? Do you know what I mean? Yes, he is their worst guitarist, but that's still. Sorry, carry on, Danny. What you saying?
Well, I'm only saying his. Go on, Danny.
No, I think it's what you were saying, Alex, is you were just about to mention Mark. But, like, Mark was there in the fucking 80s and at a time when Kiss was still trying to reinvent themselves and find their sound and follow trends. So he, although it's only one album, he's shredding his little boots off in a way that Tommy never got the... I don't know if Tommy can play like that or not, because Paul has been telling him what to do, probably, for all of the albums that we hear him on.
And he's happy to do it, right?
Alex, continue, sorry.
I only say that Tommy is on the bottom simply because we're doing a very pedantic podcast in which we're comparing these things. Like, someone's going to be at the bottom, and I'm afraid is Tommy. Just simply enough, he never, whether it's who he is as a guitarist or as a person, or it's the grasp that Paul and Gene had on the band at this point that he never got to fully express himself.
You know,
that's a real shame. That last part, though. If you let me continue,
sorry.
Because what Paul and Gene need is somebody else to push them into interesting places in a way that Ace did at points, Vinny definitely did, and Bruce did in moments as well. Particularly in the late 80s, 90s stuff. Bruce was a huge part in like making Kiss more interesting as a band and going into different places. And whether it is Tommy's fault or not, I don't think it is his fault, but we just don't know. He never got to show that in any sense. That's it, really.
Yeah, no, it's worth mentioning as well, where you're saying that we're comparing these things, and yes, Tommy goes at the bottom. Maybe a better way of looking at it is it's not so much Tommy goes at the bottom. Ace almost goes second from bottom, almost by default, because he goes by default because he plays just as good, as in his solos are pretty much just as good on the most part, on average, as Tommy's are. Really, they're very, very, very similar. But he becomes second best by default just simply because, well, he invented it and he started it. He started that style.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's because Tommy's trying to copy it. So it's almost better to look at it where it's not like Tommy goes bottom. It's more that Ace comes second from bottom by default. Otherwise, he would be, in my opinion, he would be at the bottom.
Yeah. I don't want to slag on Tommy too much. But
I tell you this, I tell you what, I do believe that Tommy is probably a better guitarist than Ace is. I haven't got any evidence for that, but I'm probably willing to bet if I listen to some of these.
I agree
Black
with
and
that
Blue or
statement.
whatever they're called.
That's as far as I'm willing to go. And people would
I was
murder
far
us
to
for
go.
saying that. But I bet on
I
paper
bet
it's-
he's probably a better guitarist. Yeah, I bet he's probably a better
I mean, under a
guitarist.
I think
microscope,
Tom Morello
yeah.
would personally come.
Yeah, and he's probably just limited. He's probably just purposely limited himself. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fucking listen to Black and Blue, and then I will, in this video, I put
Yeah,
in
let
the
us
comments.
know.
Or so, no, put in the. Yeah, I'm going to listen to Black and Blue, and then I will comment on this video to say whether actually I think that he's bad. So
Oh, please do.
I will. No, I will. I will actually listen to it because I reckon in the 80s he's probably got more room to be more diverse, more Travi. Maybe he won't. I don't know. Anyway, next we have Eric Singer. Alex, do you want to start this one, mate?
I'm not sure I do because I don't have. Sadly, I don't have too much to say about Eric Singer.
it's
Like
hard, isn't it?
I wrote that he failed to make a big impression on me in a sense, and I think it follows a little bit what I was saying with Tommy, where I feel as though at this point in the band, the newer members got less room to express themselves or to try out different sounds, and they were told, we want to play in a similar fashion to whatever Peter was doing before or Eric Carr, and that has put them in a box. It's very possible that he could be similar in talent to Eric Carr, who I rated very highly, but he didn't have that clear impact that Carr did coming after Chris. Like when Eric Carr came on, it was like, whoa, like this is a big jump up from Chris in terms of playing style.
Absolutely.
But with Eric Singer, we didn't really feel that as much. But I have nothing bad to say about him, and he did well in songs. What was his song that he did? I forgot.
All for the
What was the
Glory was the one he sang. All for the Glory. It sounded like the Foo Fighters.
It's all right. It's all right. I don't know. Alexei, you want to continue on?
Yeah, similar to you. I think Eric is a good drummer. He's a solid drummer. I think unlike Tommy, I guess he does feel like I don't feel as if he was cornered into playing in a certain style. He does have a good voice. Eric, actually, he does have a good singing voice. Yeah. Particularly the lines he sings in Unplugged when they're doing nothing to lose. I think he does sound really good on that.
So good.
I remember listening, going, "Oh God, he does sound good."
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he did. It was only like 2 lines, or whatever, but I was like, "Oh, he does sound good. He's got a nice voice." In terms of his Kiss output, again, it's tricky. It's not like with Eric Carr, where even when the songs weren't great, Eric still always had a place to shine and show off some like really great drum parts, particularly because the songs were constructed in a way where it did allow for that. There was more speed metal, more double kicks. Eric never really had that. He always was more in the pocket as a drummer. He was more about into serving the song, whereas I feel that Eric was more about trying to lift the song and improve the song. In many ways, though, I think that's exactly what Kiss wanted. They wanted a guy with a lot of groove and pocket, more of a songwriter's drummer. You know, and the same with guitarists. That's probably why they hated Mark St. John so much. Not to say that Eric wasn't about groove and pocket, about songwriting, but he felt to me more of like a technician, and ultimately made their songs better as a result. You know, you got a terrible Jeans song, but you've got a wicked like pounding like drum part with some sick fills and stuff like that. That's great. If it's just keeping time and being in the pocket, you just, you know what I mean? You're just presenting something completely presenting something very, very bad in a very serviceable way. So not much from me. Like, actually, to be honest with you, I prefer some of the Alice Cooper records he played on, to be honest. If we were talking about those records, I might talk about him a little bit fonder. I like The Eyes of Alice Cooper a lot, and I like Along Came a Spider. I think I actually saw him on the tour for that, actually. I think me and Danny did. All in all, I feel Eric is a solid drummer. He probably did exactly what they wanted on the songs he was given. And there is a professionalism to that, which is commendable in a session player. Having said all that, though, he is their second best drummer. If you're counting out Anton Fig, though, I think I might actually put him third. I think I might actually put Eric Singer third. But in terms of the key three, he has to be number two. That isn't really saying much, so it's really not saying much. However, again, maybe even almost by default. Again, as a singer and as an artist, Peter would win every single time. Danny, what do you think of the of Eric Zinger's contribution to the band Kiss?
Well, I don't have any birthday message video from him, so the gloves are off. So to
The
speak.
gloves are off.
No biases.
Hit below the belt.
Yes. I'm just looking up. Did we all see him when we saw Alice Cooper together in 2007, I believe?
He did not play on the album Dirty
Alexei.
Diamonds. He did
the arena.
He did not play on the album Dirty
Yeah.
Diamonds, but he
Oh,
might have played on
okay.
the tour. He
So
might have played on
probably
the
not.
tour.
Okay. I just wanted to check. Anyway, we think we've seen him live, at least when we saw him after Alexei at the City Hall. You think that
Yes.
was Eric Singer?
Yeah, I think so.
Completely
It was a
forgot he
blonde
played with
guy.
Alice Cooper. You're so right,
I
man.
really
Like,
can't remember. Yeah.
there's some great music there, and I love Alice Cooper. I love those gigs.
Yeah.
I love those albums. So as a musician, Eric Singer is actually very high for me. Damn, that makes me think he's one of my favorite members of Kiss. But of Kiss, like within the context of Kiss, I agree with you two. It's hard to say too much about him. Alexei, I'm really happy you brought up the Unplugged. I'm really impressed by his vocals in Unplugged, and he's sort of
Yeah,
it's
it's
the
really
only
good.
moment where he got the chance to shine and show off himself in the way that you were saying Eric Carr got to, with his drumming and his presence. What I will say, and this relates actually to what we were saying about Tommy Thayer as well, is Tommy and Eric Zinger, we have to... Another reason it's unfair to rank them is because the band were no longer a studio band for those last 20 years of their career. And we are, what
Yeah,
we're doing
definitely.
here, we are primarily interested in them as a studio band, but also like biographies and stuff. But mainly we're just reviewing the studio
Yeah.
output. And so I think in terms of, like we mentioned with Tommy, though, being just these hardworking, career-focused guys who, you know, touring for 20 years, that's got to be very difficult no matter who you are. 20 plus years, really. And I think that's very good. So I think we also have to consider that, because I'm having the same problem with Eric when I'm thinking of those albums that he plays on. They're not my favorite albums, but I really like Tommy. Don't know how much of that is his fault. And like you said, Alexei, he serves the song. He does a good job. And so the times, I want to focus on the times he does get to shine, which is stuff like his vocals on Unplugged, and they're really good. So, like Tommy, I think he gets a thumbs up. And we can move on.
Fantastic. Next, we have the man himself, Gene Simmons. Broadly speaking, Gene Simmons is a really bad singer, and he's a very bad songwriter. and at best an okay bass player. It's odd that the most praise I gave for him just then was for his bass playing, when really he doesn't consider himself a bass player, more a songwriter in the broader sense, which is really, really alarming. 9 times out of 10, his songs are absolutely terrible. I think it took up to Unmask to find one I actually really, really liked, which was Naked City. I liked the song Watching You Okay, but I wasn't really super into it. The ultimate tragedy with Gene is that he rarely leaned into the demon persona in his songwriting. The times he did, and did successfully, were good. War Machine and Unholy, stuff like that. However, that doesn't even come close to the amount of songs where he sounds twee or old or disgusting or pretentious. I believe that with him, we never got to, we never really saw the point. I believe with him that he never really saw the point in leaning into his persona with his songwriting, because for the most part, a lot of the music he really likes wasn't that. He loves American Bandstand. He loves the Beatles. He loves Jerry Lee Lewis. He loves Little Richard. He loves Zeppelin. Aesthetically, he was really into comic books, like old horror films. And that's kind of as far as it goes. That love is very rarely represented in the music. He never really seemed to meld those two things together. Yes, you can argue Alice Cooper, but really, I've never really seen him talk about Alice Cooper in terms of the music, what part of the music he liked. It's all about what he looked like and the aesthetic. It's never really about the music. It's never really represented in his...
I think he's embarrassed by the Alice Cooper image, the sort of obvious influence there, and they want, to be totally unique because they're Kiss.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it would be, he's always about, I invented this. I was the first person to I was the originator of it. Like, he's always into like trademarking random bollocks and stuff like that, and always trying to get ahead of the curve. I think, again, he would probably feel like it would be lowering himself to say, well, actually, he was a big influence on that. But in many respects, actually, I would argue Alice Cooper only visually was an influence on him, not in terms of the music. I mean, don't get me wrong, Alice Cooper had some kind of R&B influence, kind of bluesy rock sort of stuff, but he also had some really weird songs like Halo of Flies or Black Juju and stuff like that. Loads of weird stuff. Ballad of Dwight Frye. I mean, it goes without saying, like, that stuff's weird and creepy and odd. I Love the Dead and shit like that. That never, those two things never really came to pass with Gene. I think that Gene, when he's at his worst, he is deeply, deeply uncool. He's rapey, pretentious, or boring. Sometimes he is all of those things combined. In many respects, I don't think he should have ever written any songs for them. I think he would have been better off as sort of like the silent evil one at the back. I think that would have been a lot more effective, particularly in interviews. I read an interview with their old manager, Bill Coyne, where he said they all had to chat to Gene on a few occasions because in interviews they said he talked like a school teacher. And I think that's...
What?
Yeah, he's just always like, well, we decided the best thing would be to do X, Y, Z. Very uncool, very sort of stiff. And that is exactly...
Yeah, he's always done that.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's like. Like, he would have been better off leaning into the anonymity and staying at the back and just trying to look cool on stage. On that, as a performer... although I rate his makeup probably second best, and certainly thought it was the coolest when I was younger, doing this like appraisal of their discography has changed that a little bit. I actually find him quite annoying on stage. I think he tries too hard. Perhaps if he had taken more of a backseat and had just been more of a live fixture, that might have been remedied a little bit, because context does affect these things. Having said that, though, Gene... he does have his moments. However, had he left the band in the late 70s, I probably would not be saying that. He got better, not much better. He got better as they went on. But it was also a very, very slow improvement that was never really consistent. I think all his cuts on Crazy Nights were great. But I have no idea how much of those he actually wrote. I don't think it was a lot. I also really like Naked City. And I like Unholy and War Machine a lot. And Under the Rose is hilarious. Like, that is really, really funny. And shouldn't go unmentioned. There is also something to be said, about that. Even a broken clock tells the right time twice a day, and he had to have a winner at some point. I do love those songs though. I think the high points for me are Thief in the Night or Hell or High Water, and Naked City I dig a lot too. And I think that Gene's lasting impact is that he was the demon, and credit to him. He would probably agree that that people don't necessarily need to enjoy the band for the music as long as they're into the imagery and the brand. He considers that a success, and to be fair, that's quite an honest thing to say. He doesn't think he's a musical genius, and he would probably consider himself more of an entertainer. And it's worth saying that the show Rock School and seeing him on that in all of the makeup was really inspiring and formative for me. And it was one of the reasons I wanted to learn the bass and buy a Kiss record. I feel with Kiss you come for Gene but you stay for Paul. Danny, what do you think?
That was good, Alexei. I think I'm going to have less to say than you. It is hard to talk about Gene, right? Because he is a grifter, and he wants us to talk about how ridiculous those statements he makes in interviews are. And I think also, wants us to talk about how dated those lyrics are and how rapey those lyrics are. Sorry, Alexei?
No, I was going to say, would you notice? I purposely made the choice to not talk about that because I was like, we are here to talk about him as a musician, and and that's it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I was just about to say. So yeah, I don't really want to talk about those things much because they only benefit him, and it's so cynical. And in terms of him as a personality, I like you bringing up that thing about him being talking like a teacher, because that's what I think of. It isn't the so controversial statements he makes or lyrics he has. It's how uncool he is when I see him in interviews, and how fucking lame he can be, especially compared to the other members. Like on that famous one when he starts talking about I could name any comic book hero. And I can tell you, what is this? It's such a weird thing that he starts saying.
It's
give
cartoons.
you the synopsis.
He says, name me,
right?
name me the plot of any Looney Tunes cartoon, and I'll be able to tell you the title and the writer or whatever.
That's not a party trick. That is such a weird thing to say. And so yeah, I think that's how I think of him, is deeply uncool. Now, so let's talk about him as a musician. There isn't much to say. Like you said, Alexei, I mean, the bass playing is usually fine. He's a terrible singer, generally speaking. I don't really like any of his songs, I guess, bar War Machine. To me, that's the exception. I think War Machine was the diamond in the rough. We said it so long ago, and you just said it again now, Alexei, that if he'd just been a silent member, and I mean as a singer, but also in interviews, we'd all love him. He'd be this cool guy who wears the demon makeup, backs up the songs with his bass playing, and we'd all think he's great. If he didn't, so I guess I am still talking about it, but if he didn't say those ridiculous things in interviews, but also those lame things in interviews. It's not just that, how could he say that? It's how fucking just uncool he is in interviews. And also, if he'd never sung, we'd never had any of his lyrics, what we're left with is not much to talk about. But like you said, Alexei, there's an image there that we like, and He's fine as a bass player. So I don't like Gene Simmons very much, and I'm sure he doesn't care one bit about that. So Alex,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah. Well said. Alex, what are you saying? Gene Simmons.
The first line I wrote, before I say, I want to preface it with, I can see that Gene Simmons is a very hardworking person, and I think his stage performance is pretty remarkable, and that's the one thing he really is very good at. When I see clips of him on stage, like, he does own it. He's fully in that moment, and he tries to put on a show, and I think that's like that is the one thing he really excelled at, and he really gave the band. But other than that, I wrote here, the guy is incredibly lucky. He is so lucky that he got tied with Paul Stanley back in the 70s and rode along with that group, because we have seen him grow as a musician throughout his whole process. It's been really remarkable to see. He's gotten better as a singer. He's gotten better as a bass player. Even lyrically, towards, you know, the stuff in the 90s and all that stuff, he has gotten better, or not gotten better, but he's tried different stuff. He tried that. However, at no point in the discography has he ever been at the level of the people around him. I really believe that. Like, especially when he was with Eric Carr and Bruce Kulick and Paul. Like, there's no way he should be along this tree. He wasn't a good enough bass player for them. And as a songwriter, like, the amount of time he got on albums,
Ridiculous.
we all said it.
Ridiculous.
Like, he actively detracted from most of the albums. How many times we were saying,
Yeah.
you know, this is good in moments. However, we've got this stretch of Gene's songs.
Yeah.
So we've got this great song, and then we've followed it with a poor Gene
Well,
song.
you know,
He detracts from.
Well, you know how you were saying he's really lucky. It's almost like Kiss has been a success in spite of all the obviously terrible music that he has made. Kiss has still been a success. He, in that sense, that's probably the most lucky that he's ever. I mean, he's lucky enough that he's managed to find these musicians, but it's also the fact that he has managed to clog up so much of their albums with such terrible, terrible music, yet they have still managed to be a success.
Well, that's it. Like, he's lucky in the sense that he joined. He founded the group, and you know, they did as well as he did. But then it was so amazing that in the 80s, particularly, like, Kiss were doing well, and it seemed like he didn't give a shit, and he was trying to do other stuff. And it was Paul and other people saying, "Gene, you've got to try more, or you've got to contribute more." Which is crazy, considering he's been gifted this mainstay. And like I said, he was a good performer on stage. And he was a huge part of Kiss, for better or for worse. And yet it still seemed as though he wasn't in it. And Alexei, you were saying about sort of the demon character and that. I never, throughout this whole thing, ever got the sense that he really knew what that character was or truly was in it. Other than maybe some of the, you know, the pyrotechnics and some of the stuff he did on stage. But as a songwriter, which, you know, he'd go back to him once in a while, he never found it. As a player, like, he never, like, as a musician, like a bass player, he never sort of found his sound or found his thing. He was always searching and trying out different things. And
Well, one of the big issues is that because if he had just been the silent one and just the evil one, then they probably could have kept playing, you know, the sort of like bluesy, old 50s hard rocky stuff, and he would just be sort of the evil one that didn't do anything. The fact that then he would then go up to the mic and then start singing really put a spotlight on, God, there's a real polarization between their music and how they actually look. Like the fact, because it'd be like, the demon's gonna sing a song, and then it's Ladies' Room, and then it's Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. You're like, what? What's that? Do you know what I mean? I think the fact that by him actively wanting to be more of a participant and singing songs, he created that gulf between their image and their music.
Yeah, clearly, clearly he was a big part of the marketing and like branding stuff. At least I remember when seeing interviews with him, like, you know, he was sort of proud of all that stuff, and that is a huge part of Kiss. But like I say, I just can't think how many people or how many musicians would have got that, as many chances as he has had, to keep going and to perform more on that stage. I'm very really amazed by Gene, of how big a figure he is despite his output. You know, I feel like he should have been a one-hit wonder sort of thing, that like, oh, remember that God of Thunder sort of song, like what's he doing now sort of thing. But he's managed to stick around. I think it's incredible.
Right, last but not least, the legend, the star child, Paul Stanley. Danny, would you like to start us off with this one?
Yo, gosh, what can we say about Paul? He is Kiss in many ways. What I just said about Gene, it was weird to even talk about Gene. I think that's sort of what the three of us were saying, right? It's like, well, what's he contributed to the fucking band that any of us like? We haven't enjoyed. We just haven't. Like, we just spoke for a long time there about Gene, but it comes down to we just don't like the music that he made or his contributions to the music, as far as we're aware. And Paul is the opposite. The things we like about Kiss tend to be Paul based. That's not 100% true. You know, I'm a big defender of Peter. Ace gave us a lot of the guitarists gave us a lot. Eric Carr, Eric Zinger. We got stuff from everyone. But Paul, really, the songs that we love are mostly Paul songs. And on top of that, as a vocalist, there are some fantastic examples of his vocal range, his vocal ability throughout their whole discography, especially, peaking in the 80s, I would argue. So I'm not going to talk long about him, because that's really it, because I almost don't want to talk about how the process of doing this, my views of him as a person. And look, I don't know the guy, but yeah, they've gone down a bit, just because the more I've heard what he wrote in his own autobiography,
it's horrifying.
It's hard to believe. Yeah. And so that makes it, that's a shame. But like with Gene, where I could just talk about, he's a prick, I'd rather focus on the music and how Gene didn't give us much. With Paul, I could call him...
You almost want to do the opposite. You always want to do the opposite.
In rock. Yeah. I just want to talk about his musical output, which is great for the most part. Of course, he had some duds, but we're not, or at least I'm not, this super crazy Kiss fan. So I think the fact that he's got through to me as much as he has with the songs that he wrote and the performances he's given, he represents the largest percent of what I enjoy about Kiss. I think that's the biggest compliment I can give. So I think we should leave you to last, Alexei. So Alex, what do you think?
I also didn't write much about Paul, because it's sort of, so much of this podcast has been working out Paul and discussing Paul and sort of figuring him out. And yeah, he is Kiss. And the one thing I felt about him for a long time now is that he's a big what if sort of person. It's very, very clear. I started to feel it pretty much from Love Gun, maybe a little bit earlier, but I was like, well, Paul, he's got something here. Like, his voice, his vocals stand out in that era. Maybe lyrically he's not there, but he could have totally stood toe to toe with so many people at that time. And what if he didn't tie himself down with Kiss? What if that solo album project led into them just going on their own ways, and Paul going into that 80s ballad scene and going, if we heard Paul Stanley on We Are the World, he would have totally fitted in with that crowd, and he would have been a lot better than a lot of those singers there. You know what I mean? I totally believe he could have done that.
Yeah.
However, he felt as though he believed in Kiss. He really, really did. And he tied himself down, particularly with Gene, as I said. He felt as though he had to be there with Gene. And maybe there's something to that. Maybe he needed Gene for whatever reason. I don't know whether it's insecurity, as we have pointed out throughout this time, that he's always trying to justify himself, or he's always trying to be relevant, that he never really found his place in the zone where he could just absolutely shine. There were so many moments throughout this whole journey where I was actually like floored about like how well he could sing, truly. And as a performer, pretty fantastic. But I still have that what if with him, that he probably could have done so much more given his talents. And yeah, I don't have much else to say other than when we go into like our final thoughts on the band, I guess.
Yeah.
Alexei?
Paul Stanley's been quite a massive part of my life for quite a while now. I've been listening to his voice in either spoken words or singing in some capacity for on a weekly basis, like at least 3 or 2 days out of the week, for like a year now. Well, over a year now since we started doing this, and before that as well. Paul is really, really good at singing. He is a really fucking great singer. I feel Paul's biggest downfall was he got shafted by the demands that were made of him. An album every year, that kind of thing, where he had to deliver the goods because obviously Gene, was more about being a performer. And they had to stick to that Beatles business model, whilst Paul did, as it's well documented, he does care more about respect, and he does care more about the music than Gene does. And I think it was that pressure of having to write so much that meant Paul's songs, that for every great Paul song, there was always 2 okay ones, or one bad one. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? The odds were always against it because there was just so much demand and so much quantity that that the odds were always more leaning on the bad, or just filler. Having said that, though, he is the most talented person in that band by a country mile, and I would say Bruce and then him. When he's at his best, he can write some really incredibly catchy, ferocious, emotional, and theatrical and just badass music. When he's at his best, he has a great ear for a hook, whilst also giving himself to whatever rebrand or whatever change of direction there is. Like Disco, for example, he wrote I Was Made for Loving You. Incredible. Whether you like that song or not, that song is like undeniable. Hair Metal, he wrote Lick It Up.
It's a disco classic.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, it's a classic. Like Hair Metal, he wrote Lick It Up, Heaven's on Fire, Turn on the Night, Crazy, Crazy Nights. Metal, he wrote Creatures of the Night. Like, he understands songwriting very, very well and song structure, and for sure has written my favourite songs of theirs. Like, as we go through that list, that's undeniable, and I think it will be the same for you, Alex, and I think it will be the same for you, Danny. It's sad to me now realising that the most talented member of the band had the least cool makeup. I really cannot imagine him being anyone's favourite. I really can never imagine him being.
That's the sad part of this whole journey.
Yeah, he was probably never anyone's favourite, just purely based on the makeup, whilst easily being the most talented member. I watched a documentary recently about Take That, and they were talking about how Gary Barlow was everyone's least favourite, all the fans' least favourite. Like, whether he's the most talented, that's up for debate. I would argue Robbie Williams, but he wrote a lot of their material, and he was responsible for them. One of the reasons why they were as big as they were is because he wrote those tunes. And there was a story in it about how they were making Take That dolls. And Gary Barlow was that unpopular that if you bought any of the other dolls, you got the Gary one free. I feel Paul was Paul was that. Paul was the one doing all the work, but then just could never really, was just never anyone's favorite and never really translated to the fans. And I think that was one of the reasons why he's this bitter, nasty man. I think that at his best, he's an excellent songwriter, and I think he absolutely wrote some of the best hair metal and pop metal songs of all time. Highlights for me are just all of Crazy Nights, I Still Love You, Creatures of the Night. In fact, all of his work on Creatures of the Night I think is fantastic. 1,000,000 to 1 is a fucking great song. And not to downplay how great some of his other tunes were, like his output on Unmasked is great. Tomorrow is fantastic. What Makes the World Go Round is great, easy as it seems. He wrote, he wrote some of my favorite songs from my childhood, and in that way, he undoubtedly has my utmost respect as an artist. It's almost like I said before, I came to Kiss for Gene, but I stayed for Paul, at least when I was younger. One of the other great tragedies, though, is that he just seems incredibly bitter, and he has a lot to be thankful for in his life, and he spends so much of his book throwing people under the bus or just being really fucking petty and weird about things. It's a bit like in The Big Lebowski when that line where he goes, "You're not wrong, Walter, you're just being an arsehole," and I think that kind of sums it up to me. You're not wrong. Mm-hmm. But you're just being an asshole about it. Yeah, that's my opinions on Paul. And here's our last Kiss casualty. So, as our final goodbye to Kiss, we've each compiled a list of our top 10 favorite Kiss songs, which, in some way, shape, or form, will make into a playlist that you can listen to, if you so please. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to go through every album one by one and just say, do you have anything off this album? And then we can say it, maybe talk, say a few words about it. But I want to say this first. And we've shat on Kiss a lot. We've shat on Kiss quite a fair bit. But when I initially went through every album to make a list of every song that I thought was great, and I mean great, I ended up with 28 songs. So let me tell you that narrowing it down to 10.
Wow.
Narrowing it down to 10 was really difficult. And I'll get into later, I'll get into this more later, but I do think Kiss, for as much as we bash them, do have some real high moments. And that shouldn't be left out of the discussion.
They do.
They really do. So, but it is also worth mentioning that over their discography, which is very long, 28 songs over fucking 24 albums, something like that. It's not a great batting average.
Yeah, we need to work out how many tracks we've listened to.
Exactly. That
we'll do that at another point. Yeah.
So album number 1, self-titled Kiss. What do we have, Alex? Anything off the self-titled? Go.
Black Diamond.
Ooh, very nice.
Only Black Diamond.
Does anyone else have Black Diamond?
I also have Black Diamond.
2 for Black Diamonds. Very, very nice. Do you have any?
2 for Black Diamond.
Alexei?
2 for Black Diamond. I have 1 off the self-titled, which is 100,000 Years, and it was hard.
Oh,
it was
of
hard
course.
because initially
Yeah.
I put 100,000 Years, Black Diamond, and Strutter all in there because I thought all 3 of them are great. I think all 3 of those songs are fantastic. It's worth bearing in mind as well that I tried to put a list together that was maybe not was trying to represent their discography. Otherwise, it mostly would have just been Crazy Nights. Do you know what I mean? So I tried best to spread it out. But look, there was a hair in it. Black Diamond is a great song. Strutter is an absolutely fantastic song. Let's move on. Hotter Than Hell. Anything off Hotter Than Hell? Danny.
Mainline.
Absolutely. Mainline.
I cut mainline at the last one. Mainline was the one I cut.
You know,
So it's number 11 in my heart.
you know what?
Okay.
I also cut mainline. Mainline didn't make it. Mainline made it into my
guys.
shortlist. Mainline was the only one of Hotter Than Hell that I put in there that I thought was great, but it didn't make it. Next one we have Dressed to Kill. There's nothing. I know there's nothing. I think we could just skip Dressed to Kill. I would be amazed if Dressed to Kill
I
has made
put on
either
Love
of your
for All
top
You
10s.
Can. I'm
Are
joking.
you for fuck's sake? Are you fucking for real? Right. Okay. Moving on, we have Destroyer. Did anyone have anything from Destroyer, or did anything from Destroyer even come into the conversation?
I
something off
got
the
Shout It Out Loud.
I've got Beth.
Did you? You got Shout It Out Loud?
Ooh.
Oh, Beth, that makes sense.
Yes,
That makes
Danny.
sense. This is amazing because neither of those songs even made it into my initial shortlist. But Do You Love Me did. I really U-turned on that one proper hard. I U-turned on that one hard. But,
No, Alex.
but it did not make it. Do you love me?
Can I just point out? Can I point out that
Yeah.
I am now 3 songs, 100% Peter Criss. I've not put any Paul songs on yet.
Oh
Just
shit!
Peter Criss.
None. Well, Paul.
Oh, wow.
Paul's at the start of Black Diamond, and he wrote Black Diamond.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
That's true.
And he wrote Man. So I
next.
guess he's still there. Yeah.
He's still there. He's still there. Next we have Love Gun title track. Come on, title track's made it in for me. Title track's only my second.
Yeah, Love Gun's
Only my
made it.
second to
Wait,
come
you
on my
skipped
list
an
so
album,
far.
didn't you? Did you skip Rock
No, I
and Roll
didn't.
Love?
Oh yeah, we got nothing off that album. No, I'm not fucking including
Yeah,
that
I mean, I
album.
didn't put
I'm
anything
not
on
fucking
there.
including Rock and Roll Over. There's nothing off Rock and Roll Over. We can fucking skip that one.
You're right.
Oh, but I put Love 'Em and Leave 'Em.
Mr. Speed.
It's just Love Gun title track. Did we all have Love Gun?
Yeah.
I did.
Absolutely, 100%. Fantastic.
All
track.
that's the
Different
first
level,
one.
man.
All 3.
Fantastic track.
It is. It has to go there.
All
Yeah.
3. That's
It
the
has to.
only. Yeah, it has to go. Has to go. Next we have. Next we have Dynasty. I have nothing off Dynasty, but I did have a shortlist. I had one that was shortlisted, which was Sure Know Something. I do like that song. Does anyone have anything off Dynasty? I think that song is great.
I don't.
Nothing off. Nothing. No. Sadly.
Moving on. Skip Dynasty. Next we have Unmasked. I had 2 that was shortlisted, but ultimately didn't go. No, 3. I had 3 that shortlisted.
Oh,
For,
wow.
I had 3 that shortlisted for Unmasked, and I didn't go with any of them. They were Naked City, What Makes the World Go Round, and Tomorrow. I think all those songs are great, but none of them made my list. Any takers? Anything off Unmasked?
Of course.
I
You
had
guys
Tomorrow.
know.
I have
Great.
Really, Alex?
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's great. I
put
think
on
Tomorrow's
What Makes the
fucking
World Go
brilliant.
Round.
That came very close.
Yep, I considered it.
That came incredibly close.
No. One of the best. One of the best.
It's really good. Should we just skip Music for the Elder? Unless, did anyone put Under the Rose on for a joke? Other than that, I think we just skip Music for the Elder. Right?
No.
No. Okay. All right, let's move on then. Next, we have Creatures of the Night, which is the 3rd entry on my list. I put title track. I put the title track, and I also put I Still Love You on my list. But shortlisted, I had Danger and War Machine as well. But the only ones that actually made my list were Creatures of the Night and I Still Love You.
Wow.
I think both of those songs are fucking excellent. I think they are absolutely amazing songs. Did anyone else have anything off Creatures?
I did.
I Still Love You.
It's cracking. Title track. Let me guess title track.
No.
Danger. Did you have Danger?
Danger. I put Danger on. Yeah, and
That is
Lexi, we're out of
amazing.
sync because this is number 6 on my list. So I'm just an early Kiss fan, apparently. Because you've only
Yeah,
got your
no, I'm not.
3rd entry. Danger's my number
I got
6.
2.
I've only got
2.
4 more
3rd
tracks.
and 4th. Yeah,
Okay.
I have third and fourth. So I got Creatures of the
Keep going.
Creatures of the Night, and I Still Love You. We got really different.
Oh, yeah,
we're
yeah.
kind of in similar. Like we're kind of attracted to the same albums. I'm getting like like we all had,
Yeah.
but they're not quite singing up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So next we have Lick It Up. Does anyone have anything off Lick It Up? I have 2 off Lick It Up.
Yes.
That actually
I have
made
1.
it.
I have one.
Can I guess what they are? I think maybe we might all link up. I think me and Alex share all hell's breaking loose, and I think me and Danny share a million to one.
Yes.
I think me and Danny share a million
Yeah.
to one. Is that right?
Yep. You got it.
Yeah.
That is fucking brilliant. They are completely different. All hell's breaking
Alexei, you're
loose
the
is a
link.
fucking banger, and a million to one is exceptionally good. I think that might be up there as maybe tied with my favorite best song.
That's really up there.
Next.
One.
Oh.
Yeah.
It is fucking brilliant. Next, we have Animalize. Animalize. Anything off Animalize. I shortlisted 2, but none of them made the list. Does anyone have anything off Animalize?
Nope.
Nope.
Nothing.
Nope. I shortlisted Thrills in the Night and Who Wants to Be Lonely. I think those 2 absolutely fucking bang. I think I just prefer their 80s output. Everything from 1980 onwards has been pretty solid. Next. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I jumped the gun a little bit there. Thrills in the Night was off Asylum. Who Wants to Be Lonely was not. Who Wants to Be Lonely was off. Sorry, Thrills in the Night was off Animalize. Who Wants to Be Lonely was not. Who Wants to Be Lonely was off Asylum. That is like an honourable mention of Asylum that came close to being in my top 10 but didn't make it. Who Wants to Be Lonely? Does anyone have anything off Asylum?
Nope.
No.
Okay. That does not surprise me. Next, we have Crazy Nights. I shortlisted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs of Crazy Nights. Ultimately, 4 made it. onto the list. You know what's probably better? I will say them, and you will tell me if there's any crossover. Is that okay? Because it's bound to be
Okay.
one of them if there's
I'm sure
any
there
takers. Title track, Crazy Nights, that made my list. Did anyone else have that?
Yep.
Absolutely.
100%. Had to be. The other one I had on my list for definite was Reason to Live. 100%. I fucking love that song. Anyone else have that?
No, not Reason to Live.
No. Next one. I would be fucking devastated if neither of you guys had this one. Turn on the Night.
Of course.
Best, man. The absolute best.
Absolutely.
best one, yeah.
And last on my list that actually made it into my list is Thief in the Night. I fucking love the song Thief in the Night. I think it's excellent. I think it's Gene at his absolute best. It is a fucking banger. I mean, I could be wrong, but is it worth me just stopping now? Or do you guys have ones
I've
on
still
other
got-
records?
I've not finished my list, Alexei. I have
Let's
not
keep
finished
going
my
then.
list.
Let's keep going then. Let's keep going. Hot in the Shade. No, nothing. We can move on. Revenge. Oh, sorry. Carnival. Sorry. Oh, no, Revenge. Then Carnival. Sorry. Revenge. Anything off Revenge?
I've got one from Revenge.
God gave rock and
Must be
roll.
God
to
gave
you.
rock and roll to you.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Still hits.
I had 2 shortlisted for Revenge, which were Unholy and God Gave Rock and Roll to You. I really enjoyed both of those songs a lot.
Okay.
Next, we have Carnival of Souls. I think we can just fucking move on from that. There's going to be nothing off that. Next,
Yep.
we have Psycho Circus. I had 2 shortlisted actually, because one of them I forgot actually it was really, really good, and I re-listened to it and it was very good. I had Title Track and Dreamin' shortlisted, but ultimately didn't make it. Did anyone have anything off Psycho Circus?
I did, and it's not one of those 2.
What did you have? What did you have? What the fuck did you have off Psycho
You
Circus?
wanted the best.
Oh,
Yes,
fuck off.
Alex!
That
I'm
is
so happy you
fucking
put that
dumb.
up.
Fucking dumb. Right, moving on. This next one.
So
This next
happy.
one. one off this next
Oh,
album.
Danny, I know what you're gonna say now.
No, mate.
Yeah, it's
one
gonna
off this
piss you
next
off,
album
Alex.
came so close. Came so close. I was really struggling. This was the one that
Alex,
came the
you should've put
closest
it
to actually
on.
making it into my list, and I was really tempted to put it on. But I Say Yeah was a hair's out.
Yeah.
Out. Does anyone have anything
Say
of
Yeah
Sonic Boom?
It's my number 10. Say
It is a
Yeah.
banger.
It's my last one. Say Yeah. Alex, let me hear you say yeah. Come on, man.
I'll say yeah if we all go see a virtual concert when they come to Sheffield or wherever.
Yeah, we'll have to hit that up.
When Kiss come to town, the avatars come. I'll say yeah then.
I'll hear you say yeah. And that surely is it.
So
Surely.
anything off Monster? No. Well, we can move on. So next thing on the agenda is I would like us all individually to nominate one worst Kiss song of all time. Now, we can't have the song Living in Sin by Gene because, as I should have mentioned before, apologies, I didn't. We are not including Kiss solo albums in this. Otherwise, I probably would have had Wouldn't You Like to Know Me off Pause. Like, maybe something off Peters. Probably something off Peters, actually. So in that way, we can't have worst Kiss songs either. So, but I would say that we can't have Living in Sin by Gene Simmons because it's off his solo albums. But I need to make this clear. That is the worst thing to come out of the Kiss brand. Happily. And I think you guys would agree.
No.
Or
I
close.
think it's tied
Close.
with my pick for the worst song. The one that I'm gonna say. The one that I'm gonna nominate. It's really up there. Living in Sin.
Okay,
I don't want
let's
to
get into
downplay how bad it is. It is so
is
bad. Yeah.
I had a short list. I sort of shortlisted it down. I got to Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, Great Expectations, Christine 16, Mr. Blackwell, and We Are One. And others
Yeah,
others
I
that
forgot.
that is really bad, man. That is really bad. It came close. Others, I mean, there are other ones that aren't in the bin as well. I think Read My Body is absolutely terrible. So I think though, out of those 5, it kind of had to be whittled down to me to Christine 16 or Great Expectations. I think they're both two horrible sides of Gene's songwriting. Musically, I think Christine 16 is better. It still sounds like shit. It still sounds fucking terrible. It sounds like Status Quo. It's still fucking awful. But musically, Great Expectations is really something entirely different. It's so bad in every single conceivable way. I cannot decide between them. So hopefully maybe you two can throw some light. If you guys have similar picks, or if one of those is your bottom pick, then perhaps I can be persuaded. Alex, tell me, what are your nominations or your one nomination for the worst Kiss song of all time?
Well, we've had so much to choose from, and it was a toll having to try and whittle this down. I was thinking, like, do you go for a super boring song like Mr. Blackwell, or
or an offensive song? It's a different because they're bad in different ways. They are bad in different ways. Sometimes they're really pretentious, like A World Without Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're just really rapey and paedophilic, like Christine 16. Sometimes they're just super fucking boring and nothingy, like Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. Sometimes sometimes it's just this.
Yeah, well that's it.
Yeah.
Do something so boring, something offensive, or something just so lame as well. Some of these picks: Love Theme from Kiss, Nothing to Lose, Nothing to Lose, Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. Such boring ones. But of all of them, the thing that brings them all together, all those three things, amazingly, is Great Expectations.
Yeah.
Alexei, it
I
has
think
to be
you're right.
Great
It's still rapey.
Expectations.
Great
I mean,
Expectations is
that
rapey.
song-
It's pretentious and boring, but
Yeah,
it's also
that's what I'm
rapey.
saying. It's weird and rapey. It's a really boring song, but also it's unfathomably lame and ridiculous and just not cool. It puts them in this awful position. And still, of this Kiss journey we've been on, the first time hearing this song still sticks with me. Of just being like, I remember just being on the train, just listening to it, and I did like a double take of being like, what is going on? What is this song? It's really an amazing accomplishment in how
Well,
like mis aimed to this song is.
well, it's amazing.
Poorly
That
judged this song is.
It's amazing that something that could sound so plush or try to sound so plush, but also just sounds so aggressively insulting and horrible and almost like
Yes.
offensive. You know, like as you know as it does. Danny, what?
Let me answer that. Sorry, Danny.
Sorry,
What,
yeah,
what makes
sorry.
it even
Well-
worse is that you
Okay, yeah, go
can
on.
tell that they think they're so cool. You can tell they think that, oh, this is the shit. This is a funny song. This is really gonna get people, and that just makes it even worse. Sorry, Danny, you go on ahead.
Sorry. Can I just say one more thing? Can I just say one more
Well,
thing?
it's
'Cause it is a really shitty. It is a really shitty song. It is a really shitty song. And I think as well, we're saying we can't have anything off Gene's solo album here. Happily, this could sit on Gene's solo album. Absolutely happily. It's the same kind of style. It's the same sort of like rapey, kind of, pretentious, fucking boring bullshit that was on his album. Quite happily, it would happily sit there. So it's almost in the same vein. So at least that's still being represented. Sorry, Danny, what are your picks?
It sounds like I'm gonna lose a debate here, and I'm very happy to concede to Great Expectations. The way I thought about it, and it was a very instant one, like all these terrible songs, but there's one that was like legitimately grating and pissed me off more than the others, and it was Mr. Blackwell. Mr. Blackwell. I just got so angry listening to that song. I reacted in a stronger manner to that song than any of the other ones. It's the note bends that I could not do the. And we could do. Just was so. It's so slow. It's so fucking slow, and you're thinking, what is this got? What's the story? What's going on in this song? Yeah, that's so. Oh,
Yeah.
so.
That song is really shitty.
I've got that out of
song
my
is
system.
Really, really shitty.
I am happy to agree on Greg. If we've got to agree on one, Great Expectations is more remarkably bad than
yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Blackwell, so I'm happy to go with it. Yeah.
Like, does that happily comes into the conversation for you, right? Like, it is fucking dreadful. It is fucking terrible.
It is. It's close. It's close. I agree with most of your shortlist, Alexei. As well, like Christian 16, it could be. We haven't even mentioned Going Blind. That's up there. There's a lot to choose from, but we could go with Great Expectations. My personal pick would be Mr.
There's a
Blackwell,
lot.
just from my passionate dislike of it.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's it then.
All right.
Are we right to lock it in? So, in case you were all wondering out there, objectively, the worst Kiss song of all time is Great Expectations, which I think might be Gene's favourite song that they've done. I think I read somewhere that he is a favourite. Isn't that so ironic? Is that of all of this, after all this time of just completely slagging off his music, that the single worst song that we can think of after listening to every single one of their albums and basically every song they've ever released, bar some B-sides and rarities and stuff like that, that the song he thinks is the best would then come in as the worst song of all time. I think that's incredibly telling. Or the worst of their songs. Guys, I wanted to lead us on now to final thoughts. Final thoughts as Kiss as a whole, as a band. What are your thoughts of Kiss as a band?
I'll go first because mine's short.
All right, yeah, go for it. Are you just gonna? Fine, they're fine.
Pretty much. I mean, we've sort of went into this.
Oh, it'd be like, Kiss
In a way that,
fucking rule! Shout it!
Cause everything to me. No, I think part of what made them interesting to us at the beginning is that they feel like they're famous, but they're not as famous as they say they are, or the image that they put across. It's like their image really is more famous than their music and things like that. We know them as images more than, especially in the UK, right? This side of the pond, people really don't know their songs that well, especially the 70s output. They did well with like Crazy Nights and God Gave Rock and Roll to You. So, in their defense, it's not simple enough to say, it's too simple to just be like, oh, they're a band that's just not that famous. I guess they sort of are famous. But whatever you can argue about, their influence is undeniable. I think that is where they've really got it.
Yes, I agree with that.
Everything else, like, I'll argue with. I'll say, well, is the music that good? Sometimes they say really bad things in interviews or whatever. They are so fucking fun to learn about. I love just hearing the stories from you, Alexei, hearing the, just the weird, hearing the mythology of Kiss is what I like. And on top of that, I like a bunch of the songs. I do like those songs, especially the ones I included in my top 10 and a few others as well. And that's what matters. I want to focus on the positive with them. Because, again, like with Gene, I don't mind saying things like, well, I don't like him much, because he'll be able to deal with it. But the rest of them, I do just always feel like, well, these are real people. I want to, I don't want to just shit all over them. And I do like a lot of what they've made. Personally, though, in terms of just as a critic of their music, it does come back to the image problem that we spoke about even in the first album, where it just doesn't match. And I listened to them pre-teen thinking that is going to be heavy as fuck, and it just was not what I thought it was going to be. Again, to focus on the positive, Crazy Nights, the track Turn on the Night, we already spoke about. I think we made it clear that in some weird way this band means something to us back in that episode. So the concluding
Yes,
thought that I
100%.
had was Kiss deserve a seat at the table. It's just not the seat of honor that they want. So, Alex, what do you think?
It's at the kids' table.
Oh man, yeah. Do they live up to that name? Do they live up to that branding, that image that they sort of have created, and that has continued through time, in some sense? That was a big question at the beginning of all this, and Danny, you're being quite positive about it. I think no. I think after all this, though I commend them so much for their live performances and how much effort they were putting into that side of things and the image, which absolutely was influential, and they seem to do an amazing job of it, and also is a huge part of their sound that, in the way we're doing this podcast, we have missed out on. I don't think it's a coincidence that you guys love Say Yeah and Hey Delilah, whatever it was called.
Hey, Delilah.
Wow, I feel absolutely nothing from it.
That's the plain white tees. You mean modern day Delilah?
Modern day Delilah. Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
No, but your point is right, Alex.
It makes total sense to me that when they perform those songs live, that was what they were writing for the majority of the time, and that was the connection they were really going for. So, in this experiment we're doing, throughout all this, people can still argue on what we say about Kiss, and if we truly were listening to them in the way they should have been listened to. But I just can't help but feel that throughout this whole time, there was never, or very, very rarely, did they ever connect with an artistic message or a particular sound where it really was like, wow, I'm listening to one of the top bands. It was Crazy Nights. And that's really it for me. And that's really just a few songs of Crazy Nights. But I think compared to the other bands that have like lasted through time, I don't think I can put them at that table, as you're saying, Danny. I don't think they've done enough. And I'll be honest, it might be hindered by them as people, hearing what Paul has to say and what Gene has to say. Maybe if they were just simply hardworking guys who love to rock and roll, then I would have been like, oh man, good for them, and they should have had more, or they were unlucky in this sort of thing. I think what we've learned about them over this period has affected my view in that sense. There are some bangers, but no. I was amazed that Alexei got, what was it, you said, like 24, 28 songs?
29. 29, mate.
To pick from in a 29. Yeah. I don't get that as much here, but it has been a fascinating journey to do this. It's so interesting to go back and to hear these sorts of bands that, especially back in the 70s, album every year, just workhorse to try and like keep putting stuff out and keep trying different things, and it's so interesting. But I don't think Kiss are anywhere near what they want themselves to be, and I'm sorry to leave that on a downer. Yeah, I'll think about it. Alexei?
Nah.
Well,
I agree. Go on, Alexei.
I think Kiss. Kiss as a whole, right? It was quite hard for me to whittle down like the best Kiss songs. Like, it was really hard. I whittled the songs down to 29 and probably could have added a few more in. Of those 28 songs or 29 songs, however long it was, I could stick all those songs on a playlist and have a really, really great time listening to it. I think I would really, really enjoy it. I think that Kiss at their best are a really, really sick band. And listen, like, there are people that will slag off Kiss, but I've listened to all of it now, and I can say, yeah, Kiss are full of filler. They are definitely full of filler with some really, truly awful songs and albums, but they're also, at their best, really great. And like I said, I could happily put all those songs together into a playlist and have a great time. The Kiss look and the Kiss brand, with the makeup is obviously really cool, particularly Ace and Gene. However, I think Kiss's best strengths as a band is their story. And I think that they're one of the funniest, most entertaining bands of all time, without a shadow of a doubt. I think that the amount of trend chasing, like the drama, the changes of members, the changes of direction, and just on that, you have grunge albums, you have disco, you have prog, you have hair metal, you have heavy metal, you've got power pop, you've got hard rock. Like, for a band that maybe people would categorize as being quite samey, or it might appear samey at times if you listen to a certain period or a certain run of albums. They're also remarkably diverse. Like, you could listen to a song off The Elder and then a song off Asylum and never know it was the same band. Like, you listen to a song off Carnival of Souls and then a song off Unmasked and you'd never know it was the same band. Whether that's a strength or a weakness, it certainly makes for a really, really, an interesting discography to listen to. It's something that's not commented on about them often, about how much they changed and evolved over the years. And, I think it should be. And going back to what I was saying about their history, they're one of the most entertaining bands in that regard. I love listening to stories about Kiss. I love listening I love watching interviews with Kiss, and so in that respect, along with how highly I think of their music when it is good, and when you combine that with the fact that they were really inspiring to me growing up, when you take all those three things together, how much I sort of love the stories, and I love the history, and I love their place in the zeitgeist, and how highly I think their music can be when it is good, and how much they inspired me growing up. In many respects, they're one of my favourite bands. In a very, very strange way, though. Like, in a very, very odd... in a very odd way. It is a weird one. Like, culturally, I love Kiss. I love Kiss as part of the zeitgeist. I love Crazy Crazy Nights as an album. But I think most of their 70s material is really boring. And I think their best lineup was one of their most unpopular, which is Eric, Bruce, Gene, and Paul. Most of their songs I don't really care for. Most of their classic songs I'm not that interested in. However, sometimes I do think a band can be more than just the music that they make. They can sort of be a universe that you can get lost in. They're a band and I gain enjoyment out of it. It just happens to not be the music most of the time. You know, they've got video games, movies, autobiographies, and videos. And even if the videos or the games or the movie are not good, they're fascinating to learn about and to watch and to get involved in. They're full of baffling decisions and you know, strange choices that are always interesting to hear about and make me laugh or make me smile or keep me engaged. I think Kiss as an entity that exists for sure would have to be up there, one of my favorite bands. I'm just enamored with them. Like my the drummer of my band once, Nick, if you're listening, shout out. Once said to me, Kiss are terrible. They have like 2 good songs and they've been going for like 50 years. And I realise now that he's not wrong, but he doesn't get it, I guess, in the same way that I do. Like, it's a history, it's a personality, it's a look, it's completely shambolic, it's egotistical, it's interesting, and I find it amazing that they would inspire me, like an 11-year-old boy in the north of England in 2006 of all years, to pick up a bass guitar, and whatever it is that they might have that enables them to do that, it might have diminished over the years, but if you can inspire and make kids happy, you're obviously doing something right. And but I want to make this very, very clear. Musically, Kiss definitely have their moments, but for the most part, Gene substantially lets them down album after album. Paul is very talented, and Peter and Ace offer a new, unique voice that does, which is good, but however, it makes it very uneven, their discography, and their albums incredibly uneven. But in that sense, it does keep it fresh and exciting, and in a way adds to the charm. There are a lot of times when you don't know what's coming next. Do you know what I mean? There's some really bamboozling moments. That is hard to find with some other bands. It really is generally hard to find with other bands. However, they are of an uneven quality, and if I were to break it down, more often than not, their songs are not great. However, when they are great, they are absolutely fantastic. And I will be making that playlist, and I will be having a really, really great time with it. And that is it. That's goodbye to Kiss. I think we should end it there. Should we just end it there?
We should end it there. Can I just say, if I was just looking now, if freaking Strutter72 or Sticky Socks has listened to this, freaking good on you guys. Good on you, because they're the 2 people who have been slightly consistent.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, thank you, yeah.
We want to know who you are.
That's much appreciated. Yeah,
Hats off to you guys.
Yeah, you are the heroes.
They're the real heroes.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening and like and subscribing. It's
no place.
It means it's nothing to me. And also, and also don't be worried. We will be back with different discographies. The best is yet to come.
Are we sure we don't want to sing anything?
Okay, yeah.
Let's sing
Let's
something.
sing something. What should we say? Should we sing their worst song? Should we sing Great Expectations?
All right, Great Expectations. All right. Ready?
God, great expectations. God, great expectations.
'Cause you're everything to me.